Today is very, very cold, and I was a bit of a suck, and I parked in the parking lot at the school, and I paid $6 to park there, which is not that bad at all. But the significance of that is that I have a parking pass for the other one that I already paid for the semester. But that means that I could run out on my lunch and go pick up stuff in Barrie at, it's called Core Blimey. It just opened in October of last year. So it's a pretty new shop, but people were raving about it on the Reddit Barrie. That's actually where I found out about it. I didn't even know that was a thing, but learned lots this morning when I wasn't sleeping in the middle of the night. And anyway, I was able to come and pick up stuff for the Robbie Burns Day dinner. And they do call it Robbie Burns Day dinner, even though my English friend made fun of me for saying it like that. She was like, I don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, that's what they called it, and it's a British shop, so it's legit. I almost regret not getting the haggis, because you could have gotten a whole haggis. I didn't even think those were allowed to be imported into Canada, kind of last I checked, but they were there. Let me tell you, got some pictures. It happened. But I feel like I was rather tame when I was picking up stuff. So we're gonna see what we got, because I kind of just bought in a panic because I gotta drive all the way back and get back to school. So part of the adventure. Hello, welcome back. So my plan to add to this video was I was going to go through the works of Robert Burns, and I was going to find references to food and drink, and that was going to be how we were going to celebrate and share what we were going to do. So I think it was a couple years ago, we invited other people, and I printed out their own tartan, and that was their placemats and stuff. So that was the fun kind of Scottish addition to the tradition. So this time, since I went through like almost all of these to see if I could find links to food and drink, and I actually found that Robert Burns is a lot more interested in hating winter and loving women, which is actually kind of fun. There were a few references, but there were some really kind of funny things. Like, he came up with some really good burns. There was also things, colloquially, we kind of say, or you hear people say he was a gentleman and a scholar, and I found that in his works. Another one was he was professing to a woman that he loved that he would walk 10,000 miles to her, which definitely made me think of the song where they're going to walk miles and miles to the woman they love, that was later used in a beer commercial, which actually stands out more to me. But lots of very fun things. So Robert Burns, today is his birthday. He was born 266 years ago on January 25th of 1759. He did die only 37 years later on July 21st of 1796 of a heart condition. So that is a bummer. He did not live very long. He got a few works. So this book was actually a really, really fun one. I got it for like $2.99 at Value Village, but all of his published works ended up in here, but then anything like he wrote on the wall of a bar in Dumfries, they got it in there. They wrote on the back of some napkin he tried to shred and throw out. It's in here. Bunch of works that weren't even his, that they think were probably his, but he didn't claim. You'll find them. So it is quite the tome. It is not just a book of works, but super fun to have read through it. There's lots of highlights and notes, because I am an English literature student currently. Robert Burns, if this name means something to you and you can't place it, on New Year's Eve, we are very familiar with Old Lang Syne. That's his. The thought is that he updated it from like a traditional Scottish existing poem or song, but as this guy. His most famous work that he is most proud of, and it was so funny, and the start of this book was like, he was most proud of this book, and I am a judge of good works, and yeah, he was right, he should be proud of it. That was probably his best, he was right. It was Tam O'Shanter. You might be familiar with that. I thought it was a very funny, kind of fun one where had he listened to his wife, we wouldn't have gotten the poem. I mean, it's all made up. He was commissioned to write it for a plaque or something that was being put up. So Robert Burns, a very notable Scottish writer. He was born in Ayr in Scotland, spent a lot of time in Dumfries. He did not like farming because he grew up in a farming family. So he's like, forget it, I'm going to the West Indies. And then his first set of works actually did really well. So he's like, just kidding, I'm going to stay in Scotland and keep writing. So he got into a bit of alcohol. I mean, does that surprise you? So some of his stuff is a little bit wild. We do have an ode to the haggis. So that's very fun because we got some haggis pies at the British Bake Shop. We were actually going to buy like a whole haggis and cook the whole haggis. I didn't even know you could get haggis in Canada. Last I checked, it wasn't allowed to be imported because it didn't make the food and safety standards. But hey, it was there. But we went with some haggis pies. We have some Scottish sausage slices, square sausage, some black pudding. Whoa, that looks really funky, but it's actually like a perfect sphere, so that's fine. Potatoes, scones, and then I don't know if it's just my family or if it's actually a thing, but we cook it all with bacon. So were all these referenced? Absolutely not. Haggis got a reference. Scotch got an entire work. Ale was a catalyst for a lot of things that started going wrong. So while we get this going, I will share some of the really kind of funny things, kind of the sick burns or the, ooh, yeah, you really nailed that. So we will get that going, and I'm so excited to bring you along. Okay, we'll start with this one. So we have our Scotch because it's actually a supernatural thing. Dean always drinks Scotch or whiskey or whatever he's gonna order, and I don't know, I was like, well, that sounds good. I definitely want a burger and some Scotch. So I don't have a burger, but you know, you just gotta keep it around just in case. And it's very convenient for stuff like this, which comes once a year. Anyway, his work is called Scotch Drink, and it just kind of three little parts that are kind of like, that's funny. He said, let other poets raise a fracas about vines and wines and drunken Bacchus, in crabbed names and stories rack us, in great our lug. I sing the juice Scotch bear can make us, in glass or jug. Thou, my muse, good old Scotch drink, whether thou wimplin worms thou jink, or richly brown ream over the brink, in glorious fame, inspire me till I lisp and wink to sing thy name. And we kind of fast forward. When neighbors anger at a plea, and just as wood can be, how easy can the barley brie cement the quarrel? It's I the cheapest lawyer's fee to taste the barrel. Guess that's not wrong. Okay, next up, it's to a lady with a present of a pair of drinking glasses. So I've seen this one actually under a few different names, and the women he refers to under a few different names. And they definitely are referencing Scotch, not ale in this one. But Scotch is one of those drinks for me that I got too much to do to start with Scotch. So I do have my stand-in ale. It's just regular beer from Quail's Brewery. As this one is Fair Empress and Poet's Soul and Queen of Poetesses, Clorinda, take this little boon, this humble pair of glasses, and fill them high with generous juice, as generous as your mind, and pledge me in the generous toast to the whole of humankind. Very cute. It continues, but they've obviously been drinking for that last part. To those who love us, second fill, but not to those whom we love, lest we love those who love us not. A third to thee and me love. So they lose me, but I can toast all of humankind. This one I will not be toasting. However, it's one of those sick burns. Be anarchy cursed and tyranny damned, and who would to liberty ever prove disloyal, may his son be a hangman and his first trial. What kind of insult is that? So that's pretty good. That's like, I hope you stubbed your toe on entering into your vehicle today or something, but like, may his son be a hangman and he his first trial. Dark. dark. I like it, but it's dark. So that one was a toast given at a meeting of the Dumfriesshire Volunteers held to commemorate the anniversary of Rodney's victory, April 12th, 1782. Okay, I've never seen black pudding done like this, so I think I'm just gonna cut it into the slices more like I'm used to. This camera is doing something really wonky. Why does that look so wonky? I can see my fridge is wonky too. Anyway, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna see how it goes. So I have been to Scotland. I went to a family wedding. I went with my Uncle John. We did go to Dumfries, and I went to the tavern. Well, I think we just walked past the tavern, but it was pointed out to me where Robert Burns wrote some of his works. So written on a window at the King's Arm Tavern in Dumfries. So that's where I got to go. It is, it's not one of the pieces that like resonated that I was like, I'm definitely gonna try and read this kind of updated Middle English on camera. But it was fun to have been there and to have had a little piece of that history to be able to speak about it, even in this little bit of way. So that was kind of fun. So this is how, I don't know, I'm kind of going like sausages, and I'm just gonna cook them and then peel off the little piece. They didn't have any of the ones that I'm used to, so we're gonna make do. Alright, I was not confident about my black pudding choice, but it smells exactly like it should smell, like I expected it to smell as soon as I got it in the oil and cooking, so that's promising. So while that does its thing, these are like those like sick burn ones. So they're epitaphs, so that's something that you would put on a tombstone or something. So that's kind of the vibe, the kind of short, they're quite pithy little things. So this one, epitaph to a hen-pecked country squire. As Father Adam first was fooled, a case that's still too common. Here lies a man a woman ruled, the devil ruled the woman. Okay, love that. I love that as a very removed kind of thing. Okay, this one, it's epitaph on a suicide. It is earthed up, here lies an imp of hell, planted by Satan's dibble. Poor silly wretch, he's damned himself to save the Lord the trouble. Hot take, Robert Burns. Hot take. Oh, and we got one more, and then I'll tell you like the funniest part of it. This is epitaph on James Grieve, Laird of Boghead. Here lies Boghead among the dead, in hopes to get salvation. But if such as he is in heaven may be, then welcome, hail damnation. My favorite part, though, is that his friends are reading these and going, that's sick, Burns. Definitely write mine. I love it. I don't know if that would be my take. I mean, they're funny, they're good. So preferring damnation over having to go to a place where these people are gonna end up, that's funny. That's a hot take. It's a hot take, funny guy. Yeah. Okay, another fun one. So, bit of a backstory. Robert Burns grew up super poor, did a few things, wrote his first works. Became super well known, didn't make him a ton of money. So he wrote the next one. And he made a little bit more money, but then it was all gone. So he's like, okay, I'm a married man, I gotta buckle down, I gotta make some money. So he's like, I'm gonna be the tax man. It's exciseman. So you kind of levy fees on goods, and you are not well liked, especially in the drinking culture. So this one's The Devil's Away with the Exciseman, which is, you know what, I should have looked at when he wrote this, if this was before he became one of them or after and he was having some feelings about it. So we'll jump right to the end for you, the good part. But the one best dance ever came to our land was the devil's away with the exciseman. So, not a well-liked fella. But funny. It's funny. Okay, we're not going deep dive scholarly on these. We are not picking them apart. We are not, why is Shakespeare talking about red roses? Also, got some red rose stuff going on in this too. But anyway, we're not doing that. These are ones that are just funny, that I wanted to share, that I read through, and I laughed, and I was like, oh, I think Lindsay would really like these. And I'm hoping other people might find them entertaining as well. So this one is The Joyful Widower. It is a little bit longer, so buckle up. We'll do my best to get it without stumbling over the words. Okay, The Joyful Widower. Let's go. I married with a scolding wife, the 14th of November. She made me weary of my life by one unruly member. Long did I bear the heavy yoke, and many griefs attended. But to my comfort be it spoke, now her life is ended. We lived full 21 years, a man and wife together. At length from me her course she steered, and gone I know not whither. What I could guess I do profess, I speak and do not flatter. Of all the women in the world, I never would come at her. Her body is bestowed well, a handsome grave does hide her. Be sure her soul is not in hell, the devil would never abide her. I rather think she is aloft, in imitating thunder, for why methinks I hear her voice, tearing the clouds asunder. Beautiful. Must have been quite the woman. Probably would have liked her. Or been scared of her, like he was. Love that. For us. Okay, I'm not mad how these turned out. Can you see, are they too hot? The oil is still bubbling on them. These are not my favorite tongs, they're too big. But, okay, not bad. Not bad. Better than expected. I had no confidence. Okay, I was showing these before, these Scottish, the sliced sausage. So when I was in Scotland, we stayed with my uncle's sister and her wife, Anne and John, in Linlithgow. Very cool, absolutely stunning place. And we had these square sausages for breakfast all the time, and they were on these special buns. Now they're just like such a special, like, related kind of thing. Okay, this is the one that I was saying is probably his most famous works, the work that he's most proud of. So it's Tam O'Shanter. There are parks named after it, there are golf courses, like, and I'm talking here in Ontario. And I think that's so funny. I don't know, before they had a vote of the naming, if they gave it a little read-through or not. I love it. I love it. Yeah, like, absolutely, let's get in those pagan rituals in there and the witches and devils. Not opposed to that at all. So this is one that I might call Lindsay later and just read her the whole thing, but it's really long. It is considered his longest work. So it's just got a few sections. So I'll give you this first one that kind of will set the scene. All right. So we're in about October, November, kind of. It's dark, it's gray, days are getting super short. So it's the market days, and Tam O'Shanter wants to go drink with his buddies. So anyway, we think nae on the long Scots miles, the mosses, waters, slaps, and stiles that lie between us and our hame, where sits our sulky, sullen dame, gathering her brows like gathering storms, nursing her wrath to keep it warm. This truth found honest Tam O'Shanter. Big fan of this description. Nursing her wrath to keep it warm. Done that. I've done that. A big piece to usually celebrating Robbie Burns Day is to have a haggis. So I touched on that. We didn't get a haggis, but a haggis, you would usually find it, it's kind of like a ball, unless you're serving it to Robert Burns. In that case, it's the length of his arm. I will reference that back. So haggis, it is a savory pudding containing sheep's pluck. So that is the heart, the liver, and the lungs. It's mixed with chopped onions, oatmeal, suet, spices, and mixed with stock. So we didn't, as mentioned, go for the haggis. We went with haggis pies, which are still very beautiful. The tart around it, and then it's topped with mashed potatoes. So this is our first time trying these. Not our first time eating haggis, so we're gonna see how it goes. So I will read you probably not the whole to a haggis, but enough to make you go, Wow, that is considered a love affair. It's very fun though. All right, let's to a haggis. Fair fa your honest sonsy face, great chieftain of the puddin' race. A boon them ye take your place, paint, tripe, or serum, wheel ye are wordy o' a grace, as lang as my arm. Reference. French food? No thank you. Don't make me a stew. We need some good old haggis to start cutting off heads and legs and arms. We need some haggis. I love that. I love that for Robert Burns. And hopefully I love that for us in our haggis pies. I don't know if I like any food as much as Robert Burns likes haggis in this work. Maybe like salted caramel. Chocolate covered salted caramel. I've never wrote it a poem though. That's lasted 260 some odd years, so maybe I don't like anything that much. Okay, the last thing I have to share out of my book is the really one of the really gritty parts of the tam o'shanter that I think Lindsay will really love. So we set the scene. It was October, November. His wife is nursing her wrath. She is not happy with this man because she told him, do not drink, come straight home, and he didn't, and now he's gotten himself into a little bit of a mess. So he gets on his horse and he rides through real fast so those boggles don't get him, little cryptids. And he comes to this part and he hears some music and he sees some stuff going on. And so this is he's now telling us what he's seeing. Coffins stood like open presses that showed the dead in their last dresses, and by some devilish cantrip sleight, each in its cold hand held a light. And then we jump ahead a little bit. So this is a little bit graphic, but I like it. With his last gasp, his gab did gape. 5 tomahawks with blood red rusted, 5 scimitars with murder crusted, a garter which a babe had strangled, a knife a father's throat had mangled. That is some close reading imagery we could break apart here. Very cool. It's such a very cool poem, a very cool work. So his longest, his favorite, his most renowned, and yeah, it just kind of keeps getting better. I love the way that it weaves in like folklore and legend and myth and fact. It's a adventure and excitement, and it ends with, had he just listened to his wife. So this meal is actually going exactly as planned, but it definitely is a little bit of everything. Just anything that we kind of like. So we mixed a little bit of breakfast food with a little bit of dinner food. I can't cook the eggs. It takes a special kind of person, and I'm not it. So Wesley has joined us. He's been listening from afar because as I've been reading the Robert Burns works, I'm like, oh my God, Wesley, come here, listen. So he didn't need to stand here while I reshare all of that. And he's gonna watch the video with me to edit it. So, take 7 for him. I'm having a blast. I think this has been very fun. So we are going to get our eggs plated, and that's the last piece of our meal, and the mushy peas. I did forget about this, so they're on with the eggs right now. So when we get this plated, we will show you, and then we'll wrap up the video. All right, so I think this will be the end of the video. We've read some Robbie Burns. We've cooked a lot of food. We have made our delightful, wonderful, let's see if I can move the camera. All right, we have our mushy peas, which are neon green. I don't know if humans should be eating things that color, but we're going to. We have our special Scottish slices. Our potato scones with our eggs. We have they're like little dollars of black pudding. We have our bacon and our haggis pies with mashed potatoes. So we are not Clorinda, so we will not be pouring as generous as our minds. So this is for you, Sarah.
Thank you.
This is some Scotch to celebrate Robbie Burns' what would have been his 266th birthday. So happy birthday, Robert Burns.
Happy birthday.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And cheers to you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.